Alright, welcome back to the channel, y'all. We are Ceramize Semantics. I am Jerry,
I am Michael.
and here today we are talking about the Genestealer cults again. This is going to be a follow-up video to our last video that was talking about like leaks and kind of like pre-Codex thoughts and stuff like that. We did have a little bit of info available to us, but now we have the full Codex. So we're just gonna kind of briefly go through it and talk about it, initial responses and reactions to it. So yeah, let's get into it. How
Indeed,
familiar?
indeed.
Yeah, how familiar are you with the new stuff? Like just from like what I've told you and like videos you've seen. What's your overall
I
impression?
just been seeing what people have been like, a little bit of what people have been doing out there. I'm not one of the five people that play Genestealer Cult.
Yeah,
Um, I'm curious to kind of see how they progress with the Pariah stuff.
yeah. The initial reactions are pretty bad.
Yeah. Oh.
I was pretty stoked about this, and I still am. Honestly, I think I have hope for the next data slate. So
hmm
call that hopium, copium, whatever you want. Um,
Fingers crossed.
yeah. So yeah, the initial reaction's not great. Basically, there are a couple units that are pretty standout. Not all the detachments are usable, and also the points are not great. There are some that are usable, but like aberrants, for example, not great. Aberrants are
Why?
150.
300 for 10?
Yeah, it's
That's
rough.
crazy.
And the whole playstyle has greatly shifted because before in Index, people were just running big neophyte blobs, and that was the main source of the damage. So neophytes are, I think, the same price, maybe slightly different, but their damage is greatly reduced. You can't double up on heavy weapons or special weapons, so you're rocking one of each weapon, or two if you're a 20 man. So you can do like in a 20 man, you can do like two lasers, two seismic cannons, two Webers, two grenade launchers, or something like that. Um,
hmm
so that's not the go-to unit anymore, and neither is Aberrants. They lost like a lot of stuff. They got -1 feel of pain, -1 damage, -1 strength. So they're a lot weaker, not much cheaper. So I think we have to wait for like the next round of points to kind of put a band-aid on this codex. However, there are some fun tools you can still use. Some of the detachments are pretty fun and thematic. I'm still gonna have fun with this codex, and I'm gonna be testing it out a lot in the next couple of months because I will be bringing this codex to Adepticon. So
Let's go.
yeah, my hope is that before the next data slate, because that should happen before Adepticon, I believe, we'll be sitting in a pretty good spot, and I'll be able to take an actual usable army. Because of right now, the win rates are pretty low, and granted, we don't have a lot of data yet. Not only is the faction have a very low player count, but there just hasn't been much time since Pariah came out. So
Yeah, still pretty baby. Still
yeah,
pretty baby infant stages of Pariah, so.
yeah, that doesn't really give us a whole picture essentially. So on stat check, it's looking like 43% win rate. On Goonhammer, I think it was the same thing, 43 or 44, something like that. So lower than GW wants it, and but people are still winning, so that's a good sign.
Always a good sign. It is
Yeah,
very curious that they. It seems like with these two codex releases, the other being the Sisters Codex and then the Genestealer Cult, so close to this kind of like 10.5 edition that we're looking at right now, that I wonder if they were like, oh, we'll just give them sort of usable rules and then make everything like, if it's overcosted now, we can just manipulate the points more so than like, how many FAQs or how many
Yeah.
like changes you want to put into an actual codex. And they've been kind of really hesitant to mess with like actual army rules, with some exceptions this edition, like being Death Guard and the Drukhari one. So
And
it's
Admech,
interesting that
Admech in the last one, that was
yeah,
pretty crazy.
yeah, AdMech. Yeah. So it's interesting that this is kind of the design approach that they're going. I'm not like super mad at it. I just kind of wish, and we'll talk a little bit more about this, but it seems like with the Genestealer cult specifically, we might have had like maybe one a little bit more love in
Yeah.
gratuities attacks, but
That said, they do have some pretty cool detachments and some good stratagems. I think if there were just some points adjustments, we would be sitting in a pretty good spot. There are some stratagems that we're about to look at that we're just going to be like, why are there so many words to something that could just be like a sentence? A lot of stratagems that are like, okay, you get this benefit, but only if your shirt is yellow on a Saturday or something like that.
yeah,
There's a lot of like hoops you have to jump through to get some of these benefits going. So, yeah, let's just get into it.
let's hop in.
For the army rule, Colt Ambush, pretty much the same thing. However, it's just a flat 5+. You get +1 if it's first or second battle round. Nothing to do with battle line, anything like that. We don't have any clarification yet on how this interacts with reserves and rapid ingress, stuff like that. WTC actually did a ruling where they ruled that when things are in Colt Ambush, they can rapid ingress. So maybe that'll come into effect. We'll see.
That's I feel like that's pretty big because I feel like on paper this kind of seems a little gimmicky.
Yeah.
But there is like as we go through detachments, there is some fun stuff you can do with the markers and kind of do some shenanigans with it. But I just feel like the shenanigans are like maybe not as strong as some of the other shenanigans that are going on in the game right now.
Yeah, and this is, at least I believe, their reasoning for why some units are so expensive, because they factor in the fact that they can come back to life. And so some units are just more expensive than they should be because there is a chance. But, there's those games where you're just going to get unlucky and not going to get a single Colt Ambush. You're not going to get a single unit back.
Which is, it feels bad on that. It's like, oh no, we don't want that. And then characters not coming back too, so.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So that's that. Host of Ascension is going to be the first detachment. This is the index detachment, or at least the closest thing to the index detachment. It has the same detachment rule, but a couple different stratagems. Noticeably, Return to the Shadows is a little different, and then a couple like new ones, stuff like that. Some of the other ones that were in there were kind of switched around to other detachments. I'm thinking this is probably one of the weaker ones. There's not too much going for it. You get a once per game +2 a charge roll enhancement. You get a lethal hit detachment. +1 a hit roll against character unit enhancement. It's just okay.
Yeah, it does seem like it's kind of fun because it is just weapons until the next fight phase, so you can like it's not as limited, I think, as maybe the index version was.
Yeah.
I think it was but not my favorite.
Yeah. It still does have the coordinated trap stratagem that is pick 2 units and they get +1 to wound if they're shooting the same thing, or fighting the same thing in the fight phase. What else we got? Crits on a 5+ instead of 6 to hit,
which is so good. Crits on 5s are.
If you're getting
it's
lethals
fun.
and sustained, I believe that is one of the big combos you can do. People are still doing a neophyte Death Star type deal with this detachment, You can get two Primuses with 2 big blobs of neophytes. You're getting sustained and lethals on 5s. It's gonna kill. Like, it's gonna do a lot of damage. You're rerolling all hits, +1 to wound, and the lethal sustained on 5s. So it's nasty.
It is money. As a Gladius player, I can attest that it is real fun to do all of that.
Yeah.
That's a lot of, although it is a lot of rolling, but
yeah, a lot of rolling
that's
and
the game you play.
decent amount of investment, and then basically whatever you do that to, it'll kill most things, but neophytes are paper. So as soon as they pull that move off, they're out in the open. They're probably gonna die. Yeah. So that's like the whole stick with this one. Is you have the neophyte Death Star blob. That's basically the main deal with this detachment.
Are you going to kind of shy away from this one, being you're a little bit familiar with this one, so maybe try something different?
Yeah, I never liked the neophyte damage unit playstyle. It just wasn't my thing. I'm more a melee guy, so the index detachment never spoke to me. I didn't really like how they played, so I'm a lot happier with some of the other detachments in here. And speaking of, let's go into the Xenocreed Congregation. This one I like. This one I like a lot. It's not my favorite, but it's cool. This is kind of known as the Advance and Charge detachment. So by default, your hybrid units, that's Acolyte hybrids, hybrid metamorphs, and Neophyte hybrids, they get to reroll advances and charges if they're being led by a character. And then there's a little bonus for those characters getting a 3+ Feel No Pain if they're leading a unit. Magus Primus and Icon Ward only, though. Not too big of a deal. That's probably never really going to come into effect. Once you're down to like a character and a dude, you're probably dead anyways.
Save, get the Feel No Pain, go, go, go.
Yeah. But they have some cool enhancements. Let's see. The Denunciator one, you get +1 to hit and wound when you're targeting a character unit. That's pretty good. Put an Acolyte Icon Ward in a Metamorph unit and go eat some enemy characters. That's really cool. This one can get you rerolling Cult Ambush rolls on battle line units for deeds that speak to the masses. That's not bad. And the last one I like the most, Incendiary Inspiration. That gives you Advance and Charge for Magus Primus or Icon Ward's unit. Same thing, I would probably put that in on Icon Ward and then put it with some Metamorphs. Metamorphs have a 5+ Feel No Pain, and then Icon Ward gives them a 4+ Feel No Pain. So Metamorphs are one of the things that actually came out on top on this Codex. They are pretty nasty. They have, I think, 3 or 4 attacks, strength 5, -1 AP, 2 damage, something like that. And 4+ Feel No Pain with an Icon Ward. Give that advance and charge as well. Like, that sounds really fun.
And sometimes models just stay alive longer than they have any reason to.
Yeah.
When you have that.
Pains, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, when you get a 4+ Feel No Pain, it just throws everything off. Like, you can try to math out how much damage you would do to a 5+ armor, 4+ Feel No Pain unit, but it kind of just throws all that out the window.
And especially if you did some 4-arm Emperor praying,
yes.
Before the game, sometimes they just protect
you gotta do that
as well. And you just make all your 4-ups, and they're like, oh, cool. I maybe wasted resources into this unit that I thought was like actually going to be pretty easy to kill.
Yeah.
And Advance and Charge is just so good.
It's so good. And that unit has Scout too. Metamorphs have Scout, so they're a fun unit. They're a scouting 5+ armor, 4+ Feel No Pain, like damage dealing unit. They hit as hard as possessed, so I like them. I never used them before, and I will now.
Yeah, I think this attachment is really strong. I think it's probably one of the better ones in the book, yeah?
Yeah, I think this one might be one of the best. A lot of people are saying Outlander Claw is the better one. Initially, I think people were stoked about Biosynctic Brood Search. I think this one and Outlander Claw are going to be trending towards the top. But like I said, there's just not enough data yet, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
They do have some cool stratagems. We got a nice reroll charge roll stratagem. Rerolling hit rolls if a Magus, Primus, or Acolyte icon ward died.
I like the assault one too.
The assault one's nice. Give that on some metamorphs with flamers, so you're advancing and charging, but also throwing in a bunch of hand flamers with 10.
And they're like, oh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The
I think it'll be fun.
Devotion looks pretty cool. +1 attack and weapon skill for the unit.
Yeah, and that's so strong. That's crazy good.
Yeah, that is fun. Metamorphs hitting on
hazardous is like whatever, but that's such a. It's like super worth, and for only 1 CP2.
Yeah, hazardous.
Anytime,
I feel like doesn't matter. This whole codex is just throw your units at things, and expect them to die, and hope that they come back. Like it's a lot of throwaway units for this playstyle.
Mm-hmm. And using, would you say that is kind of the difference between a seasoned Genestealer cult player is to kind of know that priority unit, that unit priority of like going in and like, hey, I can still do a bunch of damage here, maybe take over and take enough off that I can come back and take an objective over, or do what I need to do in the mission flight. Mm-hmm.
For sure, it is. I had a lot of luck last edition. I really enjoyed the codex. It was a lot of fun. But it is a lot different now, so I'm gonna have to get used to how it plays now, because it's a lot different. But definitely in the first 2 turns, especially, you need to be aggressive. You need to like throw stuff away, because not like needlessly throw stuff away, but having enough bodies to just like get board control, get objectives, and also throw some to tar pit enemy units, and then coming back on a 50-50, coming back on a 4+. So you need to take advantage of that, because it's our whole shtick when you have to do that. So it's different. Let's talk about my favorite detachment, the Biosynctic Brood Search.
Says the melee one, says the World Eater player also, yes.
I like this one a lot. This will probably be my go-to, but I do want to test out Brood Brothers as well. Get a nice flat +1 to charge for Aberrants, Biophagus, and Pure Strands. And then if you charge, you get +1 attack on those units as well. Good enhancements. We have
solid.
The Infiltrators one that was from Index. That one's back in here, which I love. Put that on a Biophagus or Abominant. Lead some Aberrants, and you have Infiltrating Aberrants that can also Heroic Intervene for 0 command points. Nobody wants to start the game with a 10-man unit of Aberrants 9 inches away from them. Like, no one wants that. So
I definitely don't want that, for sure.
So,
but I know I don't want that at all. Those guys are scary.
Yeah, they're scary. So this lets you do that. It's a lot of fun. Biomorph
so
adaptation. What's that?
I think when the book first came out, and we didn't really know all the points, I think a lot of people didn't really know how to judge this one, and some people valued it really. Some people valued it really high, and some people valued it a little bit lower.
I feel like overvalued was the general.
I think with the Pariah changes.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, so maybe not to that extent, but I think with the Pariah changes, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I mean,
I think. I'm not. You heard it here first. Potential.
Yeah, I mean, your main units are gonna be Aberrants, Pure Strains, and probably Metamorphs if you have Biophaguses lead them. None of those are battle line, so that's one thing to keep in mind. Is this doesn't really reward you for having battle line units.
Also, something we should caveat with the battle line is, I wonder this is something I've kind of been hearing in several other areas of the community as well. Is I'm curious to see the reaction to how events run the battle line prospects. So, like, what I mean by that is, like, are those battle line situations going to come up? Are they going to even, like, really pay attention to them? Is the advance in action, fall back in action? Are they even really going to go into that? So I think that'll, like, greatly depend on, especially in this detachment in particular, on how successful it is.
Yeah, true. Um, I think friendly games you aren't going to see it a lot, but once we're at tournaments, it's going to heavily come
Mm-hmm.
into play. People are going to be taking advantage of these additional bonuses that Battle Line gets, because that's just what good players are going to do. So, but yeah, we'll see. Um, Next enhancement is pretty awesome. This is usually always going to go on your Patriarch. Neat thing about Patriarchs in the new Codex, they're not epic heroes anymore. So you can actually put enhancements on them, which is great. Before you couldn't, and it was stupid. So they're not epic heroes. However, they have a rule where says you can't spam them. So you can still only ever take one. So they're kind
Which
of like
is,
an epic hero, but you can get
it's
enhancements on
sad.
them. Yeah, it's
I
sad,
wish you could take
but
multiples.
yeah, it makes sense though. Like that's the whole thing is the Patriarch is the one guy leading the whole army. That said, I've seen a couple people voice this opinion that the Patriarch is probably like lore wise not gonna be a frontline battle unit. Like he's the guy controlling everything. He's the mastermind. Why would he
Okay.
be
Yeah.
like leading the charge? He's gonna be like the mastermind planner. So, but his role on the tabletop is he's like the supreme damage dealer. And with this adaptation, the Biomorph adaptation, you're getting +1 AP, +1 damage. He hits very hard. You have him lead a 10-man unit of Pure Strains. So on the charge, you're throwing out 50 Pure Strain attacks, all devastating wounds, and then his 6 attacks that are all devastating as well. So it kills whatever you want. Um, Not only are they devastating,
Yeah, that
they
seems real
hit
good.
on they hit on 2s and they're AP 2. So they shred anything. They get advanced and charge by default, and yeah, the whole unit is devastating. So not a lot of things can survive 56 devastating wound attacks hitting on 2s. The next
Yeah, I'm a big
enhancement
fan
is
of
not
Gene
great.
Stealers moving forward.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Yeah, I'm a big fan.
Mutagenic regeneration, it's okay. You just heal 1 wound on one guy. And then Alien Majesty is also okay. -1 OC on enemies nearby. Their stratagems, they have some good ones, and they have some, like, what the hell? Evasive Vanguard, you can do shenanigans with Cult Ambush tokens for Pure Strain Genestealers specifically. When an enemy moves with a 9, you can move it 6, so that's kind of cool. Stanley Paroxysm, this is one of the better ones. When your character dies on a 2+, the enemy unit that killed it, this fight phase specifically, by the way, they take D3 mortals, but if it's an Abominate or Patriarch, they're taking 2 D3 mortals. So the main thing with this stratagem is you want to use it on Abominate, because Abominate comes back to life on a 2+. That's his ability. So when he dies the first time, spend a command point. Do 2 to 3 mortals to the enemy model. He comes back on a 2+. And then just do it again. Like, assuming he doesn't die twice in the same fight phase, which is highly unlikely. But with pile-ins and consolidates, it can happen. But yeah, you should be able to get 4d3 mortals out of your Abominate using this if you're smart with command points. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's fun. I am scared of any ability that lets you put models back on the table because I have pretty bad luck with it. I think
Yeah.
I'm
Uh-huh.
I don't think I've brought Bobby back once.
Yeah, dude. I've been there. I've seen you not bring him back.
Oh, look. Oh, my Primarch he's dead actually. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, good
Next
game.
stratagem is one of the best ones. Gene Twist Muscle just straight up gives you +1 to wound against monsters and vehicles. And all of these are for the signature units only. So this is like Aberrants, Biophagus, and Pure Strain. The last one can be any character, but you get the most out of it if it's Abominant or Patriarch. +1 to wound against monster vehicles is very good, especially with Pure Strains and Aberrants. It's going to let them punch up and kill stuff. Next one, Hyper Metabolic Vigor. Pile in or consolidate 6 inches straight up. Also does not have to be towards the closest enemy model, just has to be possible with the closest enemy unit. Lets you swing around a little bit, get in where you want to get. That's kind of cool. Stimulated Biosurge. This is a cool one. Default's going to give you +1 to charge. It also gives you +1 to charge for every unit that you select as the target of a charge. So if you're charging 3 units, you're going to get +3 to charge. If you charge 2 units, you're going to get +2. If you're just charging 1, you get +1. So at the worst, it's a 1 command point +1 to charge. Not terrible.
No.
Last one is shitty stealth, basically. Start of the opponent's shooting phase, Aberrants, Biophagus, or Genestealers. So instead of just having this be a stealth stratagem, or, one of the other, you can't target this unit if it's not within 18 inches type stratagem, like a lot of other ones have, you have a 9-inch bubble for that unit. The enemies within 9 inches have to take a leadership test, -1 from that leadership test. If they fail, then, if they're making an attack, they're -1 to hit. So, too many words for not that crazy of a benefit. Like, have it just be stealth, and that be that. But
They just want the leadership to matter so much.
yeah, they really do. But they just didn't go hard on it initially. So, this is probably the worst one. But, yeah, still going to be my favorite attachment. Outline Your Claw. This one might be, like, probably the second least favorite. I just don't like bikes, personally. I don't like the bike play style. I do like the vehicles, so this helps vehicles and bikes.
The vehicles are cool. They do have some fantastic Ridge Runners. Ridge
Runners are like
super good right now.
The S tier unit of the Codex. So, they'll be even better in this attachment. So, I might test it out if I get more Ridge Runners, but I just don't like bikes. So, yeah, it's okay. They have some cool firing deck enhancement, buffing things.
How do you feel about the trucks in this?
I like the trucks. I like the ability they have. I saw a strategy where you can, since they have firing deck, you can shoot with the models weapons. The trucks have an ability where if you shoot at something, the unit that turn, a unit that disembarks gets reroll hit rolls, I think? Reroll wound rolls? Let me check. I think it's wound rolls? Let's see here. Reroll... Where's the truck? Reroll wound rolls. Okay. So, basically, you put some acolytes in there with the demo cache, which I think is indirect. So you have a firing deck weapon that is indirect. So you indirect fire something you can't see, and then the dudes get out and maybe move through some ruins, essentially. Put it on one side of a ruins, indirect something on the other side of the ruins, disembark with some acolytes. Maybe they have a Primus attached to them as well, so the Primus gives them reroll hit rolls. The truck, since it technically shot the indirect weapon, is going to give reroll wound rolls to that unit if they charge that thing. So now you're, an acolyte unit rerolling hits and wounds. That's kind of a cool combo. The Rock Raiders are cool. Fun. They hit hard in combat. Clearance and
I love that model.
Nice for Overwatch. Yeah, it's a sick model.
It's super fun.
Yeah, I definitely want to get more. I just have one, but in general, I like them a lot. Main thing with this one is, bikes and vehicles. You get double OC. Like I said, there's a firing deck, shenanigans enhancement. Stratagems I haven't looked too much into, but they have the Devoted Crew from the Index, -1 damage on Goliath, Truck, or Rock Render. That's cool. Lethal hits for shooting within 18 inches. There's a Return Strategic Reserve stratagem. They're cool. I mean, they have good strats. 4+ info.
They got the Fire and Fade, essentially.
Yeah. Fire and Fade. Like they have
they're good.
Decks. Yeah.
Yeah, there's some play. There's some play.
There's definitely some play. Like I said, just don't go for the bikes. I'll still probably use Ridge Runners outside of this attachment because they're so good. You know, they give you +1 AP on shooting and melee now, so that's huge. Just shooting at something, and then now my Aberrants and Genestealers are going to be AP3. Like, that's cool. AP2 and 3. I like it.
Yeah, that's fun.
But going to be one of my least favorites, probably. But it's probably going to be a popular one. Like, a lot of people do like the bikes and vehicles, so this one might end up being the best one. So, yeah, we'll just have to wait and see. Brood Brothers. I like this one. It's cool. You can bring 3 Rogel Dorns in a 2,000 point list. Rogel Dorns are really good. Nema Russes are pretty good. Shadow Swords are pretty good. You can bring 2 Shadow Swords. What you know about 2 Shadow Swords along with a bunch of Genestealers, bro?
It's so this detachment I want to like. It's a little strange because I feel like
it is weird.
I feel like the synergy like really is lacking if you take they don't really like synergize well. Like I've heard people kind of describe it as playing like 2 1,000 point armies, and at that point, like it seems strange that you wouldn't just maybe fill in the other 1,000 points playing guard still. That being said, I'm a little salty. This is like a Tyranid player that I wanted Tyranids to team up with them, and I realized it's not particularly lore accurate, but like
yeah,
I think
and
it
that's
kind
of a new thing. Previous in the lore, they could ally. They did have a little bit of lore where they fought together. The lore has kind of shifted subtly to them not fighting together. Like when the Tyranids come to the planet, they kill everyone. Doesn't matter who you are, what star gods you worship. If you're a hybrid metamorph, if you're like a near Genestealer looking Tyranid, you're still getting eaten. They're gonna kill you regardless. Pretty much.
They don't care.
The one they spare is like the Patriarch, because he's like the direct link to the hive mind. So, I mean, I get it, but it is kind of unfortunate. I also want to do Tyranids and Genestealers and Guard all fighting together, because, like, why the hell not? But
if you're gonna take over a planet, you know, by really taking over all aspects of it, I feel like a little bit more bugs in there.
Yeah, a little bit more bugs.
A little bit more bugs, but then like let everybody work together. You know, really taking that glory for the Forum Emperor, and you know, have some fun doing it.
Yeah. But this detachment is fun. Like, it is kind of geared more towards shooting. So, traditionally, at least before, you kind of used Brood Brothers for their shooting as a complement to like some of the melee, like fill in the spots that Genestealers have. But this one has benefits to like shooting for Genestealers and Guard. So like the integrated tactics thing, if a Guard thing shoots at an enemy unit, your Genestealers also shoot at that unit. They get +1 to hit. So like that's shooting only. That's cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Mainly, and like their stratagems are okay. They do have a cold ambush for a Guard unit. It has to be infantry. On a 3+ though. So in the command point.
Vehicle would be rad.
A 3+ to get them back. Yeah, vehicles would be rad, even if it was just sentinels. Like if it was like infantry and sentinels only or something.
FAQ. Let's get a vehicle on that.
Yeah.
Let's get the vehicle keyword on that, boys.
Yeah. But they have some cool stuff. Mainly, people are gonna be rocking Dorns, probably Dorns and like Thingma Russes and Shadow Swords, like I said. Personally,
Do
I'm
we
gonna
think we'll see
try.
Manticores?
Um,
Maybe.
maybe. I mean,
I don't know what the math is on that after Indirect got
yeah, probably
changed.
not great because the thing with Guard, with their Manticores and Basilisks and stuff like that, like they can get orders to help them with the indirect, or like orders in general is a big boon. So you're using Guard without orders. Um, One of the other rulings that WTC did was for Kashkin being able to actually choose a free order, because that's their abilities. They get to just choose an extra order in addition to whatever orders have been ordered. So since they're not technically your detachment, people are not knowing how that interaction works. But they ruled, at least WTC ruled, Kashkin do get to choose an order. So
That'll be interesting to see how that progresses.
yeah. So there's a couple like weird interactions they haven't really planned for, but yeah, we'll see. They get a nice reroll of wound rolls of 1 when guard and cult units are shooting together at the same thing. Kind of works with the +1 to hit detachment rule. That's pretty cool. Yeah, they're fun. They're fine. If there's some big brand player who pulls off the right combo of units that just makes it work, maybe they will be a lot better. But like from a surface level and the amount of time that we've seen so far, that hasn't appeared yet. But it might. It just might.
I bet you somebody does. Somebody does.
So yeah, personally, I like the Biosected Brood Serfs. That's my favorite. Second, I'd probably go Xenocreed. Maybe Brood Brothers after that, then Outlander, then the Index Detachment. Probably from like my preference tier list. I wouldn't say that's the meta tier list. Like I said, people are thinking Outlander is going to be the best or Xenocreed, but I just like hidden things. I like the Muscle Beach playstyle, man. I like the Biosected. I just
Agreed. I like the bike models because it just like reminds me, it's very like Mad Maxy meets like Alien. I'm super into that aesthetic.
And I like the models
I think
too.
it's cool.
I have always liked the bike models. I just don't like they're basically just like shotguns. Like if they had some better melee, like if these were like bigger power weapon bike dudes, I could dig it. Or if they were like
he's in.
riding bikes, where they're like just straight up almost Genestealers riding on bikes. I'd get.
I was gonna say, let's get some. Let's get an Abominate on a bike.
Yeah, man, something crazy. Give the leader
kind of
a power
that
hammer.
guy in a skinny coat.
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
So we'll see. I mean, as far as the data sheets, not gonna get too into like, picking those apart. But I will say, Ridge Runners are turning out to be like the best unit in the book. They're cheap as hell, 75 points for a Ridge Runner, and that gets you a D3 shot las cannon, essentially. Hitting on 3s.
Yeah, we're gonna see some runners.
Yeah, we're gonna see a lot of them. I think every list it's gonna be a staple. Like at least 2 Ridge Runners, it's gonna be a staple. Some you're gonna want like 4 or 6 or something. So I already bought 1. I'm gonna get more. I'm probably gonna get 3, maybe 2 or 3.
Okay.
So I got some lists playing to think about, toying around. Metamorphs also one of the top units. They got a big glow up, 80 points for a 5-man. And like I said, that gets you 5+ armor, 4+ feeling pain if you have Icon Ward leading them. I think 3 attacks, strength 5, minus 1 AP, 2 damage, or minus 2 AP, 1 damage, something like that. They hit hard, they got Feel No Pain. Aberrants went way down, they're not as good as they used to be. Same with Neophytes, their shooting is not as good as they used to be.
Hate to see it.
Reducto Saboteur, not as good as it used to be. That got nerfed. Kelomorph got buffed. Kelomorph is going to be pretty good, as well as the Biophagus. Primuses are still good. They're just expensive, and that's a pretty common thing. A lot of things are good. They're just expensive. So hopefully, in a couple months, 6 months or whatever, we'll get another data slate, and that's going to help us out. As of right now, it's not looking great, but people are still winning. So they're not S tier. They're on the bottom currently.
Well, you think even closer to the bottom, they're still. I mean, if we go by the GW, let's get everything to 50%. I think they make some point changes, and I think that'll go up. Hopefully.
Yeah.
A
Honestly,
few percentage, and then you're like, I'm gonna right back in it.
Really, all they would need. They don't really need to mess with wordings on abilities too much. Like Cold Ambush, I would really like it if they added a bonus for Battle Line Unit. That would be cool.
Yeah.
But if they just tweak the points to not account for that as much as they do, then I think would be fine. Like if it's just, oh, cool, sometimes I get my models back. That's a cool ability. Instead of I'm paying a lot more for my units because of this 33% chance that my units will come back, and that's why my things are so expensive. I think they count too much for that. So really, just
that's kind of seem
this is going to put us in a good spot.
Yeah, it does kind of seem like they're penalizing units, and this is kind of it seems like they did this in the Sisters Codex as well, that they're punishing the units because it can be like an S tier unit in one detachment.
Yes.
But because it's not an S tier unit in one detachment, it's overcosted in the other ones.
Yeah.
It's kind of I've heard that discussion several times. So it kind of seems like this is a similar thing where maybe some of the units will go down in cost once everything is once we get more data, once we kind of see where more of the win rates kind of play out and see kind of what moves forward with the events.
Yeah. And just on that note, about the stratagems that are just units that are good in one scenario, a lot of the stratagems and the attachments are just so focused on those key units, and it kind of penalizes you for not using them. You just have to. Some other codexes, they'll have stratagems where I think there's one of the Space Marine ones where it's a general use stratagem that you can use on any unit, but if you use it on Reavers, there's an extra benefit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's not
which one it is.
You get an added bonus instead of the limitations of it.
And here you can only use the stratagems on those specific units, Biosync Brood Surge, all their stratagems pretty much. You can only use them on Aberrants, Biophagus, Pure Strings. But that it just penalizes you from not using those units. If you could just use those stratagems on all of your units, and then you get an extra benefit if you're using it on those key units, that would be cool.
Agreed.
So it's kind of a weird change they did in this book, that some other books, they don't have that going on. They have more general use stuff that has a benefit for a certain unit, but here it's the other way around. So that's a weird thing. But like I said, I'm still gonna rock the Biosynthetic. I like all those units, so those are the ones I'm gonna use the stratagems on anyways, even if they were general use. So it'll take some getting used to, for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm still gonna have fun with this book. I like it. I'm probably gonna see if I can use it on this coming Tuesday, against a buddy. So,
Nice.
yeah, we'll see. Overall, Codex has not been received well, but I think we will be okay. I think we will be okay.
Yeah. Keep plugging along. Now, with all the detachments being talked about, kind of a general overview. Before we leave the people, I do have to bring up one thing that we talked about last time, and that is how glorious is the Purple Gilded Collector's
Oh
Edition
man, it's
Codex.
so great.
How sweet is it?
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I know we talked about that in the last video. How if it was going to be Purple Gilded Edges, I was going to get it, and lo and behold, it was, and so I did. It's a lovely looking book. I'm probably just going to end up using the app at tournaments anyways, but I'm going to bring it just so I can flex on people, you know.
And you got to use one of your one of your painting lights, and have like a little shrine in the corner.
Oh,
mm-hmm.
Yeah, maybe when I make the display board, I'll have like a little under shrine, just like showing the book or something. I don't know.
And then how many Genestealers will it take to hold it up?
Yeah.
How many arms?
4 times 8.
All 60 of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's awesome. I love the book. Yeah, overall, I'm still happy. I'll be happier if some things get fixed points-wise, but I'm still happy. I'm a happy boy.
Good.
All right. Is there anything else we should cover?
I think for this episode, I think it's good. Just praise be to the Forum Emperor.
Praise be.
Praise be. We're gonna take out some. We gotta get some biomass, I think.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm thinking, what do we do next time? We gotta do some sisters. We're gonna talk about some sisters.
We're gonna talk about some nuns real soon.
All right. Cool.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well, till next time. Looks like we're gonna be doing sisters possibly next video. So until then, we love you and goodbye.
Love you.